Joining me now to talk about all this, Michael Schnell, congressional reporter for The Hill, Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist, and Jamil Jaffer, former associate counsel to President George W. Bush and founder of the National Security Institute at George Mason. Okay, so we used to call this the group chat. We will continue to, unless we find out someone's under the table. But Michael, I want to start with you because lawmakers were actually coming back from the weekend. There were all kinds of hearings, like we brought up, including one on global threats. What has been going on in your group chats in the last 10 hours?
I've gotten probably 3 buckets of responses. A is Democrats who are just completely up in arms, very frustrated, very concerned and alarmed by what happened. A journalist being in a group chat, A, with those top administration officials, but B, this sensitive material being shared on an unsecure platform. The second bucket of responses I've heard is from some moderate Republicans, the national security-focused military veterans who say that this was a problem and it was a concern. I spoke to Don Bacon yesterday. He dealt with intelligence when he was in the Air Force. He called this embarrassing and wrong. And then the third bucket of responses I heard was Republicans saying they hadn't yet read the report. And this was hours after Jeffrey Goldberg had published this essay on The Atlantic, detailing what he had experienced.
So giving you the I don't know her.
It was after hours of news coverage. They had said, I haven't read it yet. I haven't parsed the details. I can't comment. A bit of a deflection, I would say, for not having to comment on this big news story. But
I want to follow up on one of the things you said, because we actually heard from Don Bacon as well. He's a Republican from Nebraska, and he was asked about the implications of this.
So I just think it's a security violation, and there's no doubt that Russia and China saw this stuff, within hours of the actual attacks on Yemen or the Houthis. So that's wrong. This is a gross error, and it's intentional. They intentionally put highly classified information on an unclassified device. I would have lost my security clearance in the Air Force for this, and for a lot less.
Jamil Jaffer, I want to turn to you, obviously, because of your experience. There's a number of things he brings up there. One, it's a violation. 2, the idea of foreign entities being probably also seeing it. And 3rd, that he would have lost his clearance had he done something similar. Which one of those would you like to take on?
Well, I read the report. It is astounding. It's shocking to see this kind of conversation happening on a commercial, messaging app. This isn't how you normally do it. Now, look, the president has the right to determine how classified information is transmitted or not. He could have given them top cover to say, look, you guys were authorized to use Signal. I'm not saying he did, right? But it's possible President Trump, we know, once took a picture of a highly classified overhead image from a satellite, tweeted it out, a picture of an Iranian missile, right? Put it on Twitter or X within a few hours of him getting it. So the president could have made a decision. Look, my senior cabinet officials are allowed to use Signal as a messaging app to have a conversation. No evidence that happened. Nobody's said that. That hasn't been their defense. But possible that
you're opening the door for that. But can you answer the question about potential violations? Is this a fireable offense under other circumstances?
Well, certainly people can get fired for this, absolutely. And I think certainly if any average government official had done this, you absolutely would have been fired. You could have been pursued for improperly handling classified information as well. Huge potential questions about all those issues.
One of the things that's coming up in terms of the politics is that Waltz, Hegseth, Vance, Trump, a lot of these folks, including Rubio, of course, have a long history of attacking their political opponents about the handling of classified materials. That's become such a story in Washington over the years, particularly in the area of Hillary Clinton. Here's an example of some of their past comments.
How damaging is it to your ability to recruit or build allies with others when they are worried that our leaders may be exposing them because of their gross negligence or their recklessness in handling information?
Hillary Clinton put some of the highest, most sensitive intelligence information on her private server because maybe she thinks she's above the law. Or maybe she just wanted the convenience of being able to read this stuff on her BlackBerry.
Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information.
I want to add one more to this, since Hillary Clinton is not here to defend herself. She did weigh in on the story on X with, given the rest of the context here, an emoji and the phrase, "You've got to be kidding me." Chuck, do you want to jump in here about that dialogue?
Sure.
I'd also like to say that this is where we are now with our national security, to where when I'm on an airplane from the West Coast yesterday, and the first thing I hear is Pete Hegseth and the signal chat, war is not the first thing I thought of. And it should have been the first thing I thought of because of all the drama we've been through with Pete Hegseth, his signal chat, baby mama drama, girlfriends, all these things alleged, not alleged, but it should be the first thing I think about when it comes to national security. And I think this gets to the political point you're making that the folks on TV were making, which is you can't have it both ways. If somebody needs to get fired, somebody should get fired. If somebody should be on signal or not on signal, whether it was authorized or not, that should be determined. When I think about national security, I want my nation to be secure.
One of the things, actually, Jamil, can I let you comment on that? Because I am curious about how you do talk about this, given that past, right? What are you going to be listening for and how Republicans defend this?
Look, I think it's an uphill battle, right? You have a situation where Hillary Clinton was set up a private server, had these conversations going on, these emails going back and forth, clearly might classified information. Republicans rightly came after her on that. Whether it was political or not, it was a fair criticism. You can't put classified material on an unclassified server. At the same time, you cannot get on Signal Chat, an unauthorized messaging application, unless you've been authorized to do it, right? And send around, whether you call them war plans or not, they were talking about sensitive operational details of an ongoing military operation. That's a real problem. Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. It was all these cabinet officials. Nobody objected. You had the vice president, you had the DNI. Nobody said.
No, it was business as usual.
Business as usual.
And, Chuck, to your point earlier, you made that quip about baby mamas. Political point for you, but not totally accurate in this context. But I think you were talking about the idea that Democrats had raised serious questions about Hegseth's ability to run an agency of this size when he had not done anything prior. Are you going to be listening to the Tammy Duckworths, the lawmakers who raised questions about his leadership ability in the next coming days? We
could very likely probably see this I told you so campaign from some Democratic lawmakers because there were obviously Pete Hegseth was the most contentious nominee that we saw. It was that nail-biting vote that went into the late hours of the night that required a tiebreaker. So Pete Hegseth has sort of been in the center of so much controversy throughout the beginning of the Trump administration because of his controversial nomination and then his uphill battle to be confirmed. So I wouldn't be surprised if we heard some of those comments from some Democrats who were really on the front lines of raising concerns.
I want you guys to stick around because we're going to talk about this more. We have a couple of experts. This has been a great table setting for us for what we're going to hear next.